Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. Good evening, everyone. It's another section on our Global Talent series. I know you've been waiting for this one, but this one is different. She's a special person, a special global talent. Yeah, a different face, right? Yeah, so we're happy to have a special global talent in our midst as our guests. And I just want you to stay relaxed today because I believe there's a whole lot to take home, a whole lot of information, a whole lot to learn today. So if I were you, yes, just have your writing pad somewhere, to take a lot of tips. Yes. And also your questions, remember, you can drop it on the chat. And at the end of the sections, we're going to take that. So we have Natalia Pazzaglia, right? Did
Yeah.
I pronounce
Yes.
that well? Yeah, yeah. So that's our guest for today. And she's going to be telling us a lot about her journey, even as a founder, even securing the business innovator visa. That's what we do on our channel. We bring global talents like her. And the target is to inspire us because that's what we stand for, inspiring the next generation of talents, the current generation. So when you hear inspiring stories, it may can affect you today and for the future as well, helping you to also know how to assess opportunities as well. So and that's why we have this personality before us that is going to be you know inspiring us with her story. So, who is Natalia? She's the founder of Legacy Compass.
Yes.
Yeah, so a tech for good platform that help families navigate the emotional and financial toll of loss with compassion and clarity. She's currently raising is it SES, right? SEIS.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And is backed by leading UK venture capitalists. Legacy Compass blends storytelling, emotional AI, and practical planning to transform how families and companies prepare for life transitions. I'm very interested to know, to learn a lot today. So I already have my writing part. Natalia's journey is deeply personal. 4 years ago, she lost her mother after a 16-year battle with cancer, a life-changing experience that taught her the power of facing loss with compassion, connection, and humanity. From this, she founded Legacy Compass with a mission of transforming grief into a tool for better lives, stronger families, and a more compassionate companies. Her work sits at the intersection of innovation, human resilience, and global impact. She's leading change in the 78 billion pounds global debt tech and legacy planning markets. Once again, it's a honor to have with us Natalia Pazzaglia, right? Thank you so much. You're
Yes.
welcome. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I know there are some other things you might want to say about yourself. I'll just give you, the floor to tell us. Maybe I've missed some very vital, things that
Yeah.
our audience need to know about you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And yeah, no, I think you summarized quite well I guess my journey. I actually started off in international cooperation, so I became a business founder afterwards,
Mm,
which I think is quite interesting because sometimes it feels that we can be innovators only when we are a very linear path. But my journey was different. I did many things before actually creating a startup. So that's also to comfort people that might not have a very clear career path. I didn't have it either for many, many years. And I felt I could never, you know, tick the boxes because I was always too curious, too creative. And then finally all came together in
mm,
the startup. So yeah, I then basically what happened in many other areas of my life is that my personal life also blended with my profession.
mm,
And so, as you were saying, from my own experience of caregiving and cancer with my mom and then her death, I decided that maybe there was room to create something positive out of all that challenges that I had faced firsthand.
Hmm. Wow, interesting. Interesting. Yeah. So for someone listening, it's possible that you are the next innovator, you're the next founder. Even if you don't have a clear career direction, it might be a sign that you are an entrepreneur. Yeah. So I agree 100% with that. Yeah. And your education is, can you tell us about your education as well?
My vocation, my
Your education, your.
education. Yeah, no, I studied politics. So I studied politics and international relation, and then I took a master in international law. Funnily enough, because my master was about the extension of citizenship to migrants in Italy. So the whole business innovator journey was actually quite funny to go through because it reminded me of all, the policies I'd been studying years ago. So again, my education was really very eclectic, if I can define it like that. And then again, I built up on that through the startup.
Yeah. So you had a master's in storytelling and reporting.
Yeah, then I also did that afterwards. Yes, I
Wow.
finished studying at university in 2011, and then I took an additional master from 2016 until 2018.
Wow. So a master's in storytelling, master's in
Yeah.
internal relations, and bachelor's in political science.
Yes, exactly.
Wow,
Yes.
interesting and international. Wow, fantastic. And you had distinctions in your master's, both.
Yes, yeah. In
Wow,
Italy, it's named in a different way, but yeah, it's a distinction. Yeah.
wow, wow. Congratulations.
Thank
We're
you.
proud of you. Your success. There's something I want us, to learn about your journey, because storytelling, right? It's what you do. So, can you tell us, how it connects with your who you are, legacy compass, all of the connection with storytelling? Because I see you're interested in it and you help to project maybe companies through storytelling and all of that. So how does it connect with your business, your company?
Yeah. So my business and my company deals with a very difficult topic, right? Which is
Mm,
end of life and loss, which is generally speaking something we don't really like to talk about because it's one of our biggest fear. We don't want to talk about losing somebody we love. We don't want to talk about losing our parents. We don't want to talk about losing our friends. But what we always want to talk about in life are stories. So we might not want to talk, about what's going to happen after our parents has passed away, but have we ever asked our parents to share stories about how they managed to build a house, or what were the financial lessons that they learned throughout their life, or how was their childhood? So I guess for us at Legacy Compass, our mission is really to transform loss. When I say transform, I mean that there are so many opportunities for connection when we share stories. Like, I mean, it's been for centuries, right? Like since sitting in front of the fire. Stories are something that really connect us with other people. So we take something as difficult as death to navigate it in a different way. So using stories, family stories, like personal stories to connect each other. And on top of the stories, we also ask more complicated question. Maybe you start talking about, what were the financial lessons, and then you might find yourself being able to ask a question about whether there are shared accounts
mm, mm.
in the family, which is a very important financial information that you want to know. I
Wow,
mean, you as anybody.
wow, wow, wow. So if I understand you, clearly, so from these personal stories, connections like that could help people understand how to go through challenging, situations and issues in their life. They can actually learn resilience. They can actually learn, because I see some things you talk about, resilience. You talk about emotional leadership, purpose. It can be
Yeah.
clear, through these connections. One question I also I want to ask is, we live in a world where, for instance, maybe a typical immigrant trying to survive in the UK and has maybe a sick parent back in his country, and so now that could be challenging if the parents maybe sick of one maybe chronic ailment or the other. So
Yeah.
he's trying to survive, he's trying to pay bills here, he's trying to pay meet up with his taxis, take care of his family, all of the burden. So taking care of that sick parents might not be easy. So these are the kind of things that we see in our real world, all right, in our society currently. Or maybe you can have a picture of disjointed families. The parents are not in good terms with the child,
Yeah.
and the child is, oh, I just there is no connection, I don't like my dad, I don't. So what is that like a typical scenario for you as your clients, day-to-day clients you meet? Do you see meet this kind of thing? So, and how do you handle it, if yes?
So we see every type of situation, and in fact, in the way in which we ask question at the very beginning, we are kind of happy to have understood that we need to ask three type of questions to really be able to give the best advice. One question is about who's, as you said, who's diagnosed, who's healed. Is this, your parent? Is this your partner? Is this you? Because these change massively the type of support that you're going to be needing. It's different if you are a friend. It's very different if you are a co-parent and you have like small children, because there are going to be tons of practical, emotional, financial consequences that you might have less if, for example, it's a friend or if it's your parent and there's the other parent alive. But the second part is about the relationship that you have with this person. So it's not just about the biological bond, but it's about, as you said, what if it's my mom, but I haven't spoken with my mom in 9 years, which happens sometimes. So it's going to be different, the type of advice that we're going to give you if you have a smooth relationship like with your parent that is ill, or if your relationship is actually very distant or even broken. And the third point goes back to how we react, because it depends on how we tackle trauma, which is always connected with loss. Some people like, for example, to be very practical, very pragmatic, like they want to have to-do lists. I'm one of them, but also I can also be very emotional. I need to talk with friends. I am in therapy. I've been talking with many counselors. So the way in which we respond, it's a combination of these three situations: who's diagnosed, what's your relationship with the person, and also what's your relationship with loss, which you might not know, but we are going to ask you some questions to understand better. Do you prefer to receive more, one-to-one support? Do you like to talk with somebody, or would you rather just receive a to-do list? And then based on this kind of answer, we are able to suggest different tools. And of course, what we say is that sometimes there's no way to change the situation, right? Because if you haven't spoken with somebody for years, it might not be possible in certain cases that the situation will improve. Sometimes it actually deteriorates because there are other issues that come across. But what you can do is work on yourself. So work on the dialogue, on the communication that you give to yourself in navigating such a difficult time.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, could you share with us, your personal caregiving experience that influenced you to your founding vision behind Legacy Compass?
That's a very good question. Nobody asked me before. So my mom was very strong. She was a very strong woman, very courageous. She loved life. So she got ill when I was 16, so I was a teenager. And she carried on for 17 years with a brain tumor that came back 3 times. So you can just imagine. She kept traveling. She went to Asia many times. She had a needlework school. She drove. She was really, really strong in getting back to track. But for example, my mom didn't want to talk about death at all. And that was very difficult for me because I'm a very emotional person. I like to talk, and that's a reason, right, why I'm doing Legacy Compass. But she didn't want to. So for me, it was very hard to accept and respect her will. Sometimes I didn't respect it, to be honest, because I was frustrated. I wanted to talk about these things. I was worried. In general, I say the first 12 years, so until I was 28 or 29, they were quite all right, except the times in which she was hospitalized. When she was hospitalized, I literally had to take a flight wherever I was and spend. I mean, it's not that I had to, she didn't ask me to do it, but I wanted to because she was alone, because I lost my father when I was 10, so she was alone. So I would take a flight, and stay with her, like rent an Airbnb and just show up at the hospital every day just to keep her company. Because with this kind of operation, you might stay in the hospital for like some weeks, like 3 or 4 weeks sometimes. So, and then she would continue the therapy at home, and I always made sure, to call her every day, talk with her, make her part of my life. The last few years were really hard because her health deteriorated, so she really needed support, like in many different ways, and I lived far away. So we had to hire somebody that could be a caregiver for her in the last 9 months, maybe, of her life. And I guess the thing that we never talk about of caregiving is that caregiving has a very strong impact on your life. It's not just about emotions, it's about practicalities, it's about living with a constant anxiety that something can happen. So whenever you get a diagnosis in your family, a part of your life that was much more lighthearted, like finish, because you know that there could be a call from a doctor anytime telling you, the situation is deteriorated. Like everybody who's been there knows that every time you go to do, um, your your exams, your diagnostics, you're gonna fear the call of the doctor because you don't know what they're gonna tell you.
Wow, interesting. And your mother's experience, how has it shaped, your life ever since? I know you founded Legacy Compass. How has it shaped your life ever since? And yeah, even with the business.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna say something that is not gonna be popular, I guess. But for many years, I dealt with a lot of anger because of the situation. Because I felt, that I always had to make compromise, basically, as a young professional. Because I couldn't, just take whatever career opportunity, because I knew that I wanted to be there for her, and that was my priority. To be honest, I was quite clear on that always. So sometimes I had to say no to amazing jobs just because I couldn't, afford to be 24/7. I couldn't afford, to not to be able to go if there was an emergency, etc. So I guess for many years I was frustrated. But at the same time, I guess it gave me a very strong awareness of how precious life is and how limited it is as well. So I'm somebody who traveled a lot. I tried everything I wanted to try. I think it built up my courage because I knew, there was not much I could lose at the end. I mean, we're all losing when we decide not to do things we love. So
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Yeah, and I really love the caregiving, parts, right? Because I can relate to that. Visiting your sick parents, even though you're distant from them, it has a whole lot it can do for them mentally.
yeah,
It's actually creating them that feeling of there is still need to live long. It's like giving them strength,
yeah.
to live long. So yeah, I really totally agree, and it's something we need to take home. So to always understand that we are still part of them, and we cannot be too busy, for our parents. We cannot be too, no matter what it is, looking for that time, even if you're far away as an immigrant or whatever it is, and calling and checking up on them, it has a whole lot you can do for them. So I agree with you 100%. Now, talking about the your business, Legacy Compass, right? It tackles very sensitive but universal challenge, end of life planning. So how using innovation, how using emotional AI, how using storytelling to, humanize, such a complex space.
Um, so the thing about loss and end of life is that it's kind of a neurological change for us when we experience loss. Our brain function differently because there's a part of our brain that is kind of busy surviving because we have received like some news, like
Mhm.
a terminal illness diagnosis or dementia for somebody we love, that is already raising like our alarm, like psychological alarm, whether we are aware or not. So there are many studies about the fact that our brain doesn't function as it normally function when we are confronted with loss. And when I say we are confronted with loss, I also mean if our mom has breast cancer, she doesn't need to be like a terminal illness, but even the idea of having such a big thing is something that neurological is going to make our brain be alert
Mm,
because something can happen.
mm,
So where like I think technology and innovation is very useful is that I am a huge fan of emotions, right? I'm a very emotional person. I believe that emotions are the way in which we connect. But I also think that in this world, it's really important to be clear-minded at times, especially when you need to make some important practical and financial decision. And in being a caregiver or in dealing with death, there are going to be tons of decisions that you need to make. And sometimes, as you said, in supporting our parents, we are going to need to be there for them, even in a parenting.
mm,
Even if we were parenting them, sometimes we need to be like a soundboard for them.
mm,
So where AI and we are developing the technology, so the technology is not available yet, but this is something we are testing, like in simpler way.
mm,
We want to make sure that we can suggest different scenarios that our busy mind, our traumatized mind cannot see.
mm,
When we are grieving, and as again, when I talk about grieving, I don't talk necessarily about somebody died already, but
mm,
if we get to know that our mom has breast cancer, we enter anticipatory grief because there's a part of our brain that is already considering death
mm,
as a reality. So
mm,
in that case, our mind might get into a more pessimistic state in which we are not able to see all the scenarios
mm,
because we are too negative, because we become more anxious, etc. So what we want to be able to do is that depending on situations, we want to be able to give people options so that they don't think, to give an example, okay, my mom, has dementia, and slowly she's not independent anymore, right? So
yeah.
she cannot live on her own anymore because the father is not there. So I need to downsize her and to put her in a care facility, right?
Mm,
In that case, I might consider that the only way in which I'm going to find the money to do that is to sell her house, right? But
yeah.
there might be many other options. But in my mind, just because it's the most common option, I will think only about that. So we are using AI and other tools to be able to give people different options and the opportunity to understand that there are options for navigating practicalities and emotions that we might not have thought about as well.
Wow, interesting. I'm just wondering how it's going to look like. Yeah, um, practically using some of the tools to achieve that. Wow, yeah, we hope to see that anyway. So building your business purpose driven company. Um, what has been the challenges? What have been your success stories? Yeah, building your company that addresses grief and legacy on a global scale.
Uh, many challenges. I mean, I guess everybody who's been, dealing with their own business knows that it's a very, you know, sometimes it's a very hard and difficult path because you are really confronted with a lot of challenges that you might not have even perceived as sin as such.
Mm,
And then I guess I didn't know how much I would have to learn And I think probably that's gonna be, I guess if I have to say, in general, two big challenge were that I couldn't imagine the amount of learning that my brain had to do in order to become an entrepreneur, and how flexible I needed to be. And the second challenge, I guess, how important is that you're going to be able to get feedback, to accept feedback, which again, for me, was a very big personal challenge, because I was not somebody that could accept feedback without taking it personally. And I had to become like that, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
Wow, interesting. Fantastic. And these are the things that, there's on our channel, we talk about the Global Talent Visa. We bring, as recipients that have, success stories to come inspire our audience on how they got the visa. Yeah. So, and part of the things that are required in getting, that visa is ability to, project your story, your portfolio, so to be convincing, and that is what attracts the endorsements. For such a person, it's important the person has that flexibility, that ability to learn, put it into his profile, and that sells the person. So yeah, I believe that's is also what has helped you also, earn the Business Innovator Visa. And a lot of persons want to hear from you how it was for you. How did you get the visa? The Innovator Visa, what was it like, your application process? If you could just walk us through everything about the visa, because someone wants to get a visa and is wondering, okay, how did she do it? Did you apply with your business? How did you go about it? Yeah.
If I was to give advice now, like the first one would be get yourself a therapist, and get yourself a personal assistant, I guess, because you're gonna have to deal with a lot of paperwork. So no, I mean, jokes aside, it was a long process. So I started my application in January, but the truth is that I started researching about 2 months before, because as people know, there are different steps of the process. There's an endorsing process, and then there's the application itself. And the endorsing process requires you to pick an endorsing body and to prepare a number of documents. So I guess for me, the two big questions were, make a decision about which endorsement body to ask to be followed by, and whether I wanted to understand whether I wanted to have legal support for the application of the endorsement, and then which were the documents that I needed to do. My advice would be to really kind of sit down and make a plan, allow yourself to really think how long it's going to take for you to prepare everything, and whether you need support. When I say support, I mean that it's going to be a lot of paperwork. So sometimes it's actually better to pay a personal assistant to do it. I didn't do that, but I would advise people to do it. Pay somebody to do some more, kind of admin work, because you will need your mind, as you said, to be able to tell the story. So if your mind gets completely overwhelmed by the little nitty-gritty of admin, you might not have the resources to tell the best stories. So that's just, one piece of advice that I would definitely give.
Yeah.
And then I think for me, for example, I decided not to take legal support in the endorsing side, and I decided that after asking for quotes. So again, I would recommend to ask for different quotes if you decide that you might want to have legal support, and really understand what the support will be about. Because, for example, I would have taken it if it was about writing my business plan, but all support that I asked for was not for that. So there was no point, in spending money if I wouldn't receive the type of support I needed. So I guess, again, it's really, and this is very personal, it's really understanding, what do you think you need help with? For me, I felt that I would have needed help in the business planning, because I felt that since I'm somebody who's extremely picky, I would definitely need somebody that at some point would tell me it doesn't have to be perfect, just do it and make it right, make it clear, but don't be over perfectionist. Other people might want to have support in other type of documents. There are documents about your bank statements, there are documents about your residencies in the UK. So it depends, on where you want to feel supported. And have it clear that if you go to a professional and pay for help, make it clear that you want to be supporting what you need. Because sometimes it's also difficult to ask and understand what the support will be about, especially I feel with some, very high level professionals. So yeah, I guess for me, there was this kind of 2 months in which I gave myself time to understand how I wanted to proceed. And then in January, I had picked the endorsing body that I wanted to go with. And again, I picked endorsing bodies based on my criteria. So for example, I know that I want to have somebody that is responsive. So I prefer to have somebody that is going to be extremely picky about the documents, which they were. They ask me like every single thing, but they always reply to my emails, which to me is really important. I want to have somebody that I can go back to asking a question if I need. Whereas I know that there are like endorsing bodies have different attitudes. Some of them might not be answering emails all the time, and they might not be as picky as mine. So it depends, on where you stand. And I knew that for me, communication was really important because I knew that the process would be already very kind of opaque. So not even having the communication from the endorsing body would have been like a little bit too much. And in fact, I got very good communication.
Wow. Like how long did it take you from application to when you were endorsed?
So for the application itself, for the endorsing part, I'd say 4 weeks. But like of these 4 weeks, I blocked literally 2 weeks in which I only did the application.
Oh, so okay, you did the application. It took you 2 weeks preparing your documents, and submitting every other documents, right? Then it took another 2 weeks to get endorsed. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry?
So for preparing your documents took you like 2 weeks.
No, for preparing my documents took me 2 full-time weeks in which I didn't work, and other 2 weeks in which I worked part-time on the application. Like it's really a lot of work.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very throughout.
Yeah. Now, so from the time you applied and waiting for endorsement, how long did it take?
The endorsement was quite quick. It was about 5 weeks. So they totally respected, the timeline that they've given me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were just successful, after one time application.
Yeah, but you have heard how much time it took me. Like I did the documents very well. So I mean, I knew that my application was strong because it was done very well. So like it's first of all, I have received some requests from different people, and I'd say some people the criteria for this business innovator visa are quite clear. So I really wonder if a lot of people should read better the criteria, because if you don't have the criteria, I just think you don't want to lose that time and money. And unfortunately, that's how it is. So I think each of us needs to be very honest, in whether we are eligible, because it's a very complicated process. So if you're not eligible, you're not going to get it. I mean, it's very long, the process itself. They check every single thing. So I really advise, if people don't have the criteria, this is not one of those things where you can bet it, because there are too many steps. Like they check every single thing. So it's a very thorough process.
Wow, interesting. So it's part of the requirements having so much money in the account, or is it ruled out?
No, there's not a specific, there is not a specific, so one thing I need to say is that my application was for an existing business, right?
Yeah.
So the type of application I submitted was a continuation of my startup visa. So again, I cannot talk for application made, from a newborn business. So I'm not sure that this kind of criteria you asked me it's applicable for that type. I can tell you that for my type, there was not a specific amount required to have in the bank. There was a condition about having either had revenues or received investment. So there were some criteria that you needed to meet, but there was not a specific, sum of money that you need to have in the bank.
All right, interesting, fantastic. Okay, I believe a lot of persons will have questions about this, but if they reach out to us, we're going to reach out to you as well.
Well, the truth is that I won't be able to answer many of the things. So like just be yeah. I'm just being honest here, like I'm happy to I guess the best thing would probably be if they have questions to reach back to you, and maybe you can make a summary for me, and then we can pass through you. But yeah, of course people can reach out, but just be aware that I received a lot of messages, so I try to answer, but I'm also a human being, so
Yeah, understand. We will take note of that. Yeah. Yeah. So, what's life for you, right? After endorsements, what has it improved your life, your business?
so here we need to say something, because I know that some people are already in the process. So the endorsement is just one part of the application.
Yeah.
After the endorsement was when my nightmare started. So the endorsement arrived in 5 weeks, but the application for the visa started when I got the endorsement. So I started my Business Innovator Visa application in January. I submitted my endorsement request at the beginning of February. I got my endorsement at the beginning of March, and then it took me an additional week to submit my visa application that I could not submit without the endorsement. It's a two-step process.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of March started what I thought would be easy,
Mm.
and it was not, because it turns out that there are lots of delays for this type of visa, because the documentation is so long that it takes a very long time to be revised. So just to warn everybody, like the application for the visa itself took 5 months.
5 months. Wow, it's really long.
Four, 4 months, 4 months.
4 months. It's quite different from global talent visa. This is more rigorous from what you're saying. Yeah, the business innovator visa is really really rigorous.
Yeah, it's very long as well, because they have many steps. So
Mm.
yeah, I'd say definitely, like from what I'm hearing from other founders, the current waiting time for the visa itself is between 6 and 12 months. So just to, because I think, again, if people are thinking about which type of visa to apply to, I'd say this is very long.
Mm.
It is like I probably got my visa a bit earlier, and still was 4 months plus 1.5 months of the endorsement, so total 5 months and a half, because I had a family emergency, so I had to leave the country, and that's what's probably speed up the process.
Mm.
Because like I lost both my parents, and my last family members was hit by a car, so I needed to go back. But if I went back without the visa, the whole process would restart from zero, so I would have to reapply again.
Mm. Mm. Wow, interesting.
So
You're in a big space, helping families and people handle grief. Do you, because I saw from your profile, you have like some extensive experience with social innovation. You worked with international organizations, NGO. I believe it's also helps you what you're doing with Legacy Compass. So, but do you get like financial support for people? Financial aids as part of the things you do for your clients.
so we don't do that. What we do is that we sometimes redirect to other organizations. So for example, we might redirect to charities, or to different organizations that could offer that kind of support. We don't do that directly, no.
Okay, okay, okay. And your business Legacy Compass is not, I believe it's not an NGO. It's
No, it's a business. It's a
it's a
business.
business.
Yeah.
It's a business. Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So we've been having a very wonderful section. Please, if you have questions for Natalia, because yeah, you can use this opportunity to get all you can get from her. Questions about the visa. Now you have her here. Put it on the comment section. We'll pick it up on the chat section. If you have questions about Legacy Compass, you've heard from her, the horse's mouth, what they do, how they can help. You address any kind of issue. It might not necessarily be. Quote me if I'm wrong, or correct me if I'm wrong, rather. It might not necessarily be loss, right? Is it maybe something like because you've talked some said some things around resilience. Somebody going through some challenging moments. It could be loss of job, right? I believe loss of job. Or is it just going to be loss of loss of property, loss of job, and all that?
So at the moment we are talking about loss, as in losing somebody. But yeah, in general, so the type of support that we can provide is with that type of situation. But the idea is that for the future, we would love to be able to address also other type of loss.
Loss, yeah, yeah. Okay, at the moment it's just loss of life because there are different types of loss.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to picture that. So yeah, this is the right time to drop on the chat, your questions for Natalia. So now, what advice would you have for? I know you've given some very useful advice, like anybody going through that route, business innovator visa has to use his tongue to her tongue to count the teeth. Yeah. So, but do you have any more advice for entrepreneurs, innovators, immigrants looking for how to settle, in the UK? Any general advice, for any audience listening? Yeah.
I guess, well, what to say? I guess one of the biggest thing that I'm learning, it's I guess to trust yourself and to build that kind of muscle of being able to listen to your needs, because I think the whole like entrepreneurship slash social impact, social innovation is like sector is at times very competitive, and it feels like you're a fraud. That's how I feel many times, and it's, to me, it's been like a journey of really being honest with myself, on my achievement and also on what I need now. Like maybe it's I need to slow down a bit, even if the rest, I'm gonna take a holiday next week for 10 days and I absolutely don't want to hear anything about business. So I think for me, like one of the biggest learning is that if you do want to have a business, I think you need to be a very centered person. And when we are not, and it happens in life not to be, even for a extended period of time, I think it's important to be honest enough to ask for help. Again, I'm in therapy, I have a business coach, I'm supported by many people, and I struggle. There are many times in which I struggle. People that know me very well knows that I can be very stressed, I can cry a lot. So I mean, it's not easy, and it's not easy for anybody really, even if LinkedIn seems to be like a long list of successes.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. So it's good to be open and always seeking for help. We have some questions coming in already. Your journey with the business innovator visa routes must have come with both excitement and challenges. Looking back, what was the most defining moment that gave you the confidence to keep going?
Thanks for this question.
Yeah. Mm.
I guess there was a moment when as I said, I had a family emergency, so I really wanted to take the flight and go back. Also because, I work in this sector about end of life, so just imagine how I must have felt when I got to know that somebody I love was ill at the hospital and I could not go. And then was the moment in which I wanted to drop everything, right? Take the flight and go. And this would have meant, just for people that don't know, if you leave the country, while your application can be withdrawn. Not every time is withdrawn, but it can. So it was a big risk. And by the way, I had already, like, I made a mistake, which was I did, like, there was one day in which the visa officer like told me that I would receive, like a how to say, a decision by a certain date, and then I didn't. So I assumed that I could leave the country, and I left the country for 3 hours, and then I had to deal, with a legal procedure to, make sure that my application could still be considered, because I was supposed to receive an answer and I didn't. But then after I knew that, of course, I couldn't, right? So in that moment, I really wanted to drop everything, and I received a message from one of my advisor, and it was one of the best and kindest and wholehearted messages ever. and in which he told me, like, Nat, you have done so much for this business, your heart is here, you have like really, I didn't have a salary for more than a year and a half, like I made such big sacrifices for Legacy Compass. And it was like, do not throw everything right now because you are exhausted. Like, I know you are exhausted and you really want to go home, but just keep it up like a little bit more. And I think to see that kind of love, in that sense of somebody that really cares about you and your business, and that is willing to say something maybe strong, maybe that you don't want to hear, because of course I didn't want to hear that, maybe understand how important it was what I was doing, and so I stayed.
Wow. Thank God for that. Interesting. Yeah. So, uh, what can you also say about the UK, doing business in the UK? Um, it's Legacy Compass a profitable company, and would you advise people to go into business? Or is UK thriving economy from your experience as well so far?
So we're not profitable yet because we're still, in the startup phase. So we do have some revenues, but they're not enough, to cover
Okay.
our costs, which is quite normal for startups.
Yeah.
I have been given a lot of opportunities from the UK. So especially as a female founder, as a migrant founder, I received like an extremely strong support. When I talk about support, I mean mentoring programs, I mean free program that I could join. There's the Ego Labs, like Barclays Ego Labs does some amazing programs that are completely for free, with mentors, with like I was like really supported through the journey, and that was great. I think that the level of innovation that you find in the UK is still kind of very cutting edge compared to other European countries. I'm not sure it's going to be like this for much long, because of course with Brexit many things are changing. But still, also I think the level of access to capital, especially early stage, for early stage company pre-seed like we are, like it's not comparable. There's much more opportunities for like receiving investment in the UK rather than in other countries, especially at early stage.
Mm.
So when it's more risk, I mean, when everything is riskier, I think there are certain like procedures that the UK has that has allowed investors to take biggest risk that they wouldn't take with in other countries.
Yeah. Well, that's the blessing, doing business in the UK. So she's encouraging, innovators and entrepreneurs in the UK, or inspiring entrepreneurs. You're in the right land, you're in the right environment, so that your business will thrive, hopefully. All right. Do we still have questions coming? Put it on the comment section. Put it on the chat. We'll just put it up for you so that you can get answers to your question. Remember, if you actually want to get the likes of Natalia on our channel, and hopefully if you want her to come back again, please hit the subscribe, the like button, and and subscribe to our channel if you're a new joiner on the channel, so you can see global talent like her, and get inspired from this story. Yeah, so she has told us a lot about Legacy Compass and how the company helps address issues around grief, so that we can move on with our life. We can, if I hope I'm recapping very well. So Natalia, you can help me if I'm not doing just
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah.
so. Yeah, you can have your feet on the ground again, and have you have a beautiful life. Have that courage, that strength to move on and achieve your dreams. Because yes, if you agree with me, there's something about loss. It has the way of making you not to just kill your dreams. And you're like, oh, some persons go as far as even taking their lives again. I think, yeah, depression kills and all that. But I believe Legacy Compass is in that space to help us stand on our feet and move on. Is there any story you want to tell our audience that will really connect maybe with somebody, of how your business has touched the life, one client. And yeah.
I guess, well, today is 2 days since I incorporated Legacy Compass, so it's like a birthday of the business. And I guess one of the best things that I've kept to remind me of how important it is for me is the letter I got back in 2023 from, the company house, where they sent you a letter with Her Majesty, because for the Queen is giving you the right to be a director of the company. And I guess to me, it's always been a dream to turn like my own challenge into something positive for others. So that letter has been like for me like a little bit of a keepsake to remind me to keep going.
Wow, interesting. But you've served like how many clients so far since inception of your business?
We have done a crowdfunding campaign with 204 backers. So yeah,
Sorry, I didn't catch that. The campaign.
204 backers. Yeah.
Backers.
Yeah, backers that they supported us in the crowdfunding campaign. Yeah.
Interesting. So my question now is: have people started using your service? Have you started getting like customers or clients or people interested in using your service? And how many like that persons have reached out?
So it depends, because at the moment we have had about 150 in the UK, and then we have another 400 in Italy.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's nice. 400. So that's growth. You're having like a growth. Users already. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because what I was thinking, I was just thinking about the whole thing. Are you also looking at before loss, right? Because why maybe that client or that individual is going through pains, watching maybe that loved one about to go because of the chronic, sickness or ailments, maybe cancer, it could be high blood pressure, hypertension, whatever it is, that diabetes, and it's difficult at that point before death and all that. So is your business also looking into that space of preventing
Yeah,
the
partially, yes.
all right. Interesting. So it's a whole lot. Wonderful
Yeah.
company, wonderful business. Do we have any more questions before we wrap up the section? And any final words from Natalia to the audience? Is there any final words? Anything you have for us? It could be anything on top of your head, anything. Or maybe you want to tell us about your big dreams, your big aspirations. It could be 10 years from now where you see yourself. So, final words for us. It has been a wonderful time with you, wonderful section, a lot to take home.
Thank you.
so,
Thank you.
so the floor is yours to give us the last final words, that will leave us shaking, thinking about you.
um, no, I think I think we said already a lot. So yeah, thanks for listening. And yeah, I hope that this can be useful. And definitely, I think it's a challenging path, but it's also extremely rewarding. So
Yeah, yeah. A lot to learn. So please,
yeah,
if you've missed this section live and you stumbled on this video, please take your time. A whole lot to take. Try and understand what it takes to do business in the UK, what it takes to get the business innovator visa. And please don't forget where you got the information from on this channel. Drop us a thank you, drop us your questions if you're not clarified in any area, and we'll come back to you with answers. We promise you that. Yeah, so engage with us, like the channel, subscribe on our channel so you can get more feeds like these when we release a video. Once again, Natalia, we are indeed,
thank you,
we have wonderful talents like you that come on our
thank you.
show. We like to give them different types of gesture. Sometimes we give them a clap.
Thanks.
We even give them a standing ovation. We are honored. Thank
Thank
you
you.
Yeah, thank you for
Okay.
joining and thank you for
Thank you very much.
advising
Yeah.
our guests. Yeah, God bless you. All right.
Bye.
Yeah.